A 2021 report by the Commission for Gender Equality states that South Africa, quote, does not seem to have a clear and effective institutional basis on which to coordinate its responses to tackle gender-based violence. Now, our country has seen numerous summits, countless awareness weeks, and endless studies on the impact of GBV on our people. Yet, still, 1 in 5 South African women will experience physical violence from men. So what more is government doing to tackle this pandemic in South Africa? Let's bring in Social Development Minister Lindiwe Zulu, who joins us now live via Zoom from Brussels. Minister, we'll get to why you're in Brussels in a moment, but first let's go with our focus tonight on gender-based violence. What is happening with the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Council that was supposed to have been started?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Shahan, and good evening to your viewers. There's a lot of work that is being done, I can assure you of that. And because we had to develop the national strategy on GBV, basing ourselves firstly on the actions that were taken by activists, a collection of a number of women's organizations, individual activists who are always on the front line of dealing with the scourge of gender-based violence. So from a point of view of ensuring that the national strategy on GBV is implemented, government, through the Department of Women, Youth and People with Disability, has been talking to us, all of us as ministers, and wanting us to be accountable for the actions that we need to put in place in as far as GBV is concerned. It's across government, by the way. And I think we've got to make it very clear that it's not only the Department of Social Development, nor the Department of Youth, Women and Children. The entire cabinet has the responsibility, as well as all departments. They have a responsibility of making sure that they have action plans. However, you're right in saying that we have very good policies and everything in place. This is a scourge that needs to be dealt with house to house, street to street, community to community, because clearly, irrespective of the fact that we've got all these plans, it continues to plague us, and we are all the time having heart-wrenching stories of how women are suffering out of it, and children in particular. So in short, I think we need everybody. We need community, we need church leaders, we need the media, we need everybody to talk about gender-based violence on a daily basis, and not talk about gender violence because somebody has been killed or somebody has been abused. It's action plans that need to be collectively done by all of us. And obviously government has to lead, and we are leading in that.
Are you leading, though, when it's taken 3.5 years to set up a council to deal with this? Remember, people protested. They went to the union buildings to raise their concerns in 2018. And that's when we saw an emergency action plan to deal with gender-based violence. But we're still talking about more people who are victims of gender-based violence in this country. And by the way, Minister, the National Council of GBV was actually talked about and mentioned in 2012. It's 2022, and I'm not buying the notion that we're still working on it and that we've made strides if this was first mentioned all those years ago.
Well, it's unfortunate if you're not buying to it, because when I say everybody has got to take responsibility, I really mean it. And the fact that government has had to put budgets aside, has had to put a structure together, has had to make sure that we have a plan of action which must not be implemented by government alone, is very important to be appreciated and understood. Also, at the same time, I'd like to indicate the fact that when we have to work with other organizations outside of government, we need to be able to put systems in place to make sure that the money that is going to be put in there is accounted for, structures are going to be accountable and all that. Besides, let me also say that it's not just about the council that is in place. The plan by government is a plan that has to be implemented by people at local government, at provincial government, and at national government. And so I repeat again, no matter how much we can be pointing fingers at this one or that one, the scourge of gender-based violence is not going to go away in South Africa if, one, we don't work hard in ensuring that women have to make the decisions that they have to if they are in a relationship and they can see that there's violence, it's not conducive for them, we need to make sure that we assist them to create a conducive environment where they can get out of it, number one. Number two, we have to make sure that when it comes to the police and the work that they have to do the best that they can. Number three, we must make sure that the justice system takes over when cases are in court, and it must not be delayed. And this is one of the weaknesses, is the delays when suspects have been caught, and then the process of finally giving justice to it. It takes too long. Cases are postponed and postponed, and this is what the government has to do in terms of ensuring that the justice system works for us. But here is the bottom line. We are here in Belgium, for instance, because we've been invited by She Decides to come, and I'm now being requested to be a champion. Now, until she is able to decide on her life, whether she's a child at school, she's a girl at school, a girl at university, or anywhere else, until she is able to decide about her life and everything, it's going to be difficult for us. Lastly, we have made the call to both organizations, including men's organizations, to come up and assist us in making sure that we collectively have to fight gender-based violence. Only when we are united in it can we overcome it.
Another worrying thing is that a 2021 report by the Commission for Gender Equality says that South Africa does not seem to have a clear and effective institutional basis on which to coordinate its responses to tackle gender-based violence. And that's why I am raising and pushing this issue off the Council, because that statement in itself is saying that we need a coordinated approach. You're part of an interministerial committee to deal with gender-based violence, but clearly more needs to be done according to this Council.
And rightfully, the good thing is that we've got institutions that can be able to do the monitoring and evaluation and raise the issues with us so that we can strengthen our institutions. I agree with them. There's a lot of work that we need to do to make sure that we have a coordinated effort, but also we must be able to use the resources that we have properly. Here is the Department, for instance, of Social Development. We've got NPOs who we are funding to assist us in fighting gender-based violence. We've got CARA funds, monies that is allocated to us by the Department of Justice to fight gender-based violence. And therefore, I will go back again to the fact that fighting gender-based violence cannot remain a responsibility of government alone. And I say to you, the Department of Social Development spends 8.2 billion rands every year in supporting NPOs and NGOs. Now what we need to do is to ask for the value of that money, because if government cannot be everywhere all the time, these NPOs are the NPOs that are closer to the people, that live with the people. In other words, it means we have to find a better way of coordinating with them. And again, I say this, until such time that the rights of women are respected by men in the house, on the streets, and everywhere, women will continue to suffer. Until such time that we collectively, all of us, work towards changing the manner in which women are treated, whether it's in rural areas or in towns and townships. In fact, changing the way some men's attitude is towards women is irrespective of where the woman lives. Because what we see women who are highly educated, who are in good spaces, they still get abused. We see women who are living in suburbs and all, they still face the same issue of being abused by their partners. We see the same situation in rural settings where women are being abused. So we need to get back to the basics of it. How do we make sure that in the home it is understood by the family, by the husband, by the boyfriend, by the uncle, by everybody, that if they thought that women do not have rights, it's time they understood that, and they have a responsibility and role to help us change that.
Yeah, and you know, despite all of the attempts we're seeing made by NGOs, etc., who are even helping police to properly handle GBV cases, we still have women who come forward and talk to us about how they're victimized even in their workplace, and when they raise issues it's not addressed. We also have women who say that, DNA testing, the backlog has affected their cases and it's been thrown out of court. This is still happening on a regular basis on a large scale. So what do you say to these women who feel that government and civil society, not just you, civil society as well, has not done enough to deal with this issue?
Yes, I can say to those women that we also want an end, including this issue of DNA being delayed. We're working very closely with both the Minister of Police as well as the Minister of Justice. And quite frankly, I think that there are better ways of doing this DNA test. Today, there's technology and a whole range of things. We shouldn't be using the old age systems of doing that. And we are saying to them, can we change the system that we are using? Because justice delayed is justice denied to these women. We feel for them, we push for them, we work in ensuring that talking to the relevant structures, they improve the situation. We will see an improvement in it as long as we continue to make the demands. And also is the issue of the budget and ensuring that the systems are today's systems, not yesterday's system. I'm really sorry, obviously, that our system are delaying and the women are suffering, but I can assure them that we stand with them. We will do everything we can. The justice system is slow as far as we are concerned for these women, and therefore we'll continue just pushing for ensuring that our systems are much faster. Because again, when I say justice denied, it's justice delayed is justice denied.
Lastly, you mentioned this briefly about why you're in Brussels. She Decides Stay. This is about countries around the world joining forces to actually push this fight against gender-based violence. Tell us about how you're going to use this meeting to actually help us here in South Africa when it comes to this issue.
Thank you very much. If I can just take a step back and indicate the fact that I've been asked as a person called Lindiwe Zulu, because of the activities and the work that one has done in the past in as far as fighting for the empowerment of women, ensuring that the rights of women are understood and appreciated. I've been asked to be one of the champions, and I gladly accepted that I'm a champion. But however, this issue is not just about myself and me being asked as an individual. I belong to a government that is committed to making the change for the women. So I'm going to be able to use this platform to connect to the strong political leadership and join coordinated efforts across regions, sectors, and all actors who are going to be here, including the government of Belgium, as well as all other She Decide champions are going to be here. At the heart of it all is about what programs can we put into action globally, because sometimes as South Africa we think that we're the only ones who are suffering this. This is a global problem. It's just that in South Africa it's a pandemic because it is violent and women end up being killed. But the issue of abuse of women and not giving women their rights, it's a global challenge. And also they've called upon me to be one of the champions because they want their footprint to be in South Africa as well as the African continent. And I gladly accepted that because I know that I can be able to represent my country here, represent the women, the millions of women who are still struggling because their rights are being violated.
Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu.